today I'm going to flip the script on you a little bit. First of all, hold up here. What does that even mean? What does that mean? I don't know if you're ever mentally ready for cancer, but the first time around, the first couple of times around, I knew how to deal with it. I was invincible. Nothing shook me, right? I knew I was going to beat it. This last diagnosis threw me for a loop, and I've never in my life experienced that. Here's why I wanted to have the conversation today, because I really believe men don't open up. They're not vulnerable enough. They don't talk about issues that are impacting their life, because the physical part of cancer is just one aspect of it. It's the mental, for me, that was the most difficult. I wanted to ask you, when I was going through my anxiety attack, where I really, really thought I was going to die, and I had my daughter call the ambulance, and I thought it was over for me, right? But the one thought that kept going through my head was, am I the person, am I leaving this world the person that I want my children to remember me as? If they Googled me, if they went through my social media, if they, anything, am I the person that they would respect? Are you that person right now? Have you gotten yourself to that point? If not, what is it going to take?
Deep through these things.
See, you almost have me.
When you put the laws and what has to be done before you understand that there's a relationship here, there's always going to be rebellion.
So wait, you flip the model. You put your relationship
I didn't flip it.
Oh.
Welcome back to the Mindset Shift podcast. Today we have Alex Garza with us today. As Latinos, we're taught to be strong. We're taught to push through, to carry weight, but we don't always want to talk about what that actually costs us mentally. So today I want to go deeper.
Before we get started here, thank you for the invite. I think this is a really important conversation here today. What a lot of your audience doesn't realize that today, I'm going to flip the script on you a little bit, because we had a conversation earlier, Tony, and I really believe that you are one of those individuals that are here on earth that are sent to inspire and motivate and guide and help people. And I don't think that you get your opinion out as much. So as much as you're going to ask me, I'm going to be flipping it right back at you.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't understand nowadays, Tony, is that I think a lot of people see me, and I do get a lot of compliments on, some of the successes that I've been able to achieve in life. And I think that there's always flip sides to that, right? I think what people don't understand is my beginnings were very humble. Like, we were undocumented immigrants here in the country. We worked our butt off to get to the level in the, I don't want to say position, but, the life that we have right now. And it's not just me. This is a combination of my parents, my brothers, my sisters. It is a family effort for us to be where we're at right now. And I don't think people see that. They only see, the social media posts.
They only see the tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the iceberg, right? Yeah. So Tony, one of the things that I love about what you're doing with your podcast is that you're out there, you're creating, you're inspiring, and you're doing it from a very authentic point or place. We had a conversation a little bit ago where I don't think that men, you, me, other men, really open up. Yeah. And I don't think that we have genuine conversations. I think that we are taught, like you were saying in your intro, to just toughen up and accept it and deal with things. That I recently went through a little bit of a health scare again. It seems like it's attracted to me. Cancer is attracted to me. How lucky am I, right? But one of the things that I experienced there was just this anxiety attack, and it was severe enough to send me to the hospital. And for the very first time in my life, I saw that it was important to, go through some mental health assistance. So I want to ask you a couple of questions here, Tony. You talk a lot about mindset.
Yeah.
A lot about mindset, right? But I want to ask you, when was the last time that you genuinely changed a core belief within you? And why did you change it? What was it that broke that belief and made you change?
There was a moment in my life where I met a man, Juan Martinez, and my father growing up, he would always plant these seeds of wisdom, right? He would pour into me in these inspirational quotes. So I feel like there was a lot of seeds below the surface that were planted when I was younger. but I'll talk about the first time, and then I'll kind of go to the last time, just to kind of give you a picture of why I think this way. So I met a man who inspired me to move across the country and lease out my house, sell all my belongings, and change my whole life. There was a man who said, the day that I made that decision, there was a man who said, in life, you get these handful of moments where you have to take a chance to make a choice, to make a change in your life. It always stuck with me. And then I came out, and then Juan introduced me to Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, Mike Ferry, Tony Robbins, all these gurus with these mindsets. Growing up, nobody ever taught me that there's ways to think. There's no class on how to think, right? John Maxwell was a great one. And, I started looking at all these guys as these, I started to idolize them a little bit, right? Because I felt like they knew so much more than I knew. And they became an idol in my life. And I'm sitting in church one day, and I'm hearing all these same quotes being quoted from scripture. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't Napoleon Hill or Earl Nightingale. That was in the book of Proverbs. That was in the Gospels. Jesus said that. Paul said that. And this light, something inside of me sparked where it became real. A lot of scholars believe that you have the flesh, you have your body you live in. That's your temple. You have your soul, which is what makes you you. And then you have a spirit that becomes alive the moment that you realize a higher power actually exists. You accept him into your life, and you're filled with the Spirit. And then what ended up happening was, the book in Romans 2 says, do not be conformed to the ways of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's been a lifelong journey of constantly changing things I thought to be true. Hills I would have died on because I thought this was the way, just to realize I was completely and utterly wrong. And understanding that I know nothing. The world has so much vast wisdom and so much knowledge. I could spend my entire lifetime locked in a library and never fully soak it all up.
These are those golden nuggets that I think people need to hear. I want to take you back just a little bit further, okay? Because the person you are today, I've known you for quite a while.
Yeah.
You've changed. You were not always this person per se, from what I remember, right?
Yeah.
I want you to go back to when you were younger. Did you always have this strength of mindset, this belief that you needed to constantly evolve and better yourself? If you hadn't have met Juan, where would you be?
It's funny because I often look at my children, I see so much of myself inside of them.
That's scary, right?
Yeah, it's very scary.
Yeah.
When we're born, or when I was born, and it's natural because it happens in them too, we're so hungry for the world. Like, we want to touch things and break things and learn and grow, and we understand that. And eventually we get to the point, I think it's around 6 or 7 for most people, where we think we know it all. Growing up, and I'm blessed because my dad, he is a man of faith, and he would pour wisdom into me. So I always knew there was so much more to learn. But what happened was, the world constantly tells you, suck it up, be a man. There's this one way and you got to follow it, keep your head down. And at 15, got my heart broken. And
that happens a lot at 15.
Yeah, it happens a lot at 15. I got my heart broken, and it got to the point where it was like, okay, I don't want to feel this pain. I don't want to feel this thing. And that's when alcohol was in front of me. Growing up, it was everybody in my family. That's just how, in the Latino culture, it's drinking and Coronas and tequila, and, that's all around you. So society in the world painted this picture as if alcohol that was the answer. That's how people got through life. And I started drinking alcohol, and I went in the complete opposite direction. I turned my back from, okay, if that's God, I don't want to hear about it. I want to do me. I want to enjoy my life. I want to live in my own truth. And I want to do all the things that I want to do, and to hell with the consequences.
Right.
And that was where I was at, where I met the day I met Juan. I was trying to get away from that because the inevitable thing that happens is that just leads to pure destruction. You quickly realize that life is not fair, life is dark. And if you just self-indulge and you put yourself at the center of it, everything else starts to erode after that.
So let me ask you this, Tony, because I think that we're on to something really important here. And you found a crutch in alcohol that kind of helped you, well, get through some times, right? It really wasn't helping you, but you thought it was. I think that men tend to turn to alcohol a lot because of just that, right? But if I was to ask you today, because now you're evolved, you're a lot more, translucent, if that's a word, I don't know, a lot more advanced. I mean, now how do you open up? Who do you cry to? Or do you not cry to anyone anymore? We were just saying that we were taught not to cry, not to open up. Who do you cry to now? Who's there to help guide you and counsel you, where you can just be, I guess, raw and bare and, when you're having issues?
So there's two major pieces there. One is a vertical relationship and one is a horizontal relationship. What I experienced to be true was the God of my understanding. Christ is a living God. So it is a real relationship with him first and foremost. He's not some imaginary figure. He's actually somebody that I cry to and I lament to and I ask for wisdom and I ask for help. And it's a real relationship. And then what ends up happening is, because the two greatest commandments are love him, love others, right? Worship him and help others know him. He inevitably brings people into my life. So now I've been blessed. Like, yes, I have my wife who is a greatest blessing I've ever received, aside from Christ. And then I have a men's group. So I've been walking with the same group of guys that we can be real, we can be raw. And as iron sharpens iron, I've learned that so does one sharpen another. And it's not, think about how iron sharpens iron. It's clashing, it's hard, it's painful truths, right? And I'm blessed to have these men in my life. And not everybody has that, which is why I'm an advocate for men's groups and getting together with other men to share these things with, because women think pink, and I love my wife to death, but she thinks pink. I think blue. We have two completely different perspectives on the world. And I was taught growing up just by the world, society, you don't cry, men don't cry. But then how do we be vulnerable? How do we grow in areas of misunderstanding that we were never taught? And I'm a big advocate of mentors and role models. Like, if you look at the Bible, if you look at the good book, there's this constant pattern of discipleship. It's one man pouring into another so he can pour into another so he can pour into another.
That's interesting. So thank you for that. And I think that this is what I love when I speak with you, is that, I'll sit and I'll listen and I'll pick 2 or 3 things that improve my life. And I think that's really important. I love that you were mentioning the men's group. I love that you were mentioning your relationship with God. Not all of us have that relationship with God, right? And so what do you recommend for men that are out there that don't have that relationship with God, but still need Pause. Did I choke you up already?
Yeah.
I love it. Let's take that back just a little bit. Let's change focus for a second. You've talked a lot about a little bit about mindset, a little bit about your relationship, a little bit about coping and crying and opening up from a mental health perspective, right? Which I think is really important. I think we can dive a lot deeper into that. Yeah. We don't have the time for it, but we need to, right? These conversations need to continue. Mental health is also paired with physical health, right? Let's talk about physical health, all right? So I understand that, we're told to work hard, especially Latinos. We come here, we're told to work hard. We're told to optimize our calendars. We're told to focus on business, on finance, and, care for the family. And a lot of times we put our health in the back seat. Yeah. Why do you think we do that? Why are we treating our body like it's a backup plan versus putting priority on it?
Every time I hear that question, it just reminds me of I'm grateful for role models, because it was Brian Tracy's the one that wrote the book about it. And in the book, me and Juan talk about this a lot. We have 5 equities of life, right? We have these pillars of our life, and it's inevitable where if you focus on one, the other one's going to suffer. And what's common is that most people who excel in one equity, one pillar, they have a huge lack in the other. So a lot of people, they'll think, oh, well, I got to get my finances because that's one of the pillars. I just got to focus on my finances. And they neglect all the other pillars. Or I got to focus on my family. I got to focus on my relationship with God. I have to focus on my mental health. So you have these different 5 areas, and a lot of people, they'll focus on one thing and they'll completely neglect the other. And the weeds start to grow and rob the fruit of the garden. And that's what happens to most people. And I think a big, tremendous piece of that is the society that we live in. It's very unfortunate that we live in a society where we don't fully understand the things that we're putting into our bodies. We don't fully, like, I mean, growing up, it was, especially as a kid, they make it all look so colorful, and they make it all look so pretty, and all these red dyes and all these chemicals and things of that nature. And we just, I mean, there's a multitude of different reasons, that being one of them. But I think a lot of people, like, if you wrestle, and I know this to be true, and it's very unfortunate, and why I'm an advocate of mentors and being an influence and being around other people, is because if you wrestle with the will to move on and push through life and just live another day, a lot of people are in this position where it's like they don't even know if they want to continue living. Why should they even care about their body?
Right.
So
let me ask you this, because you said something really important here about the equities of life, 5 equities of life. And you said you can only focus on one. Is that what you said?
Not that you can only focus on one, but when you only focus on one, the other ones get robbed. The goal, and you'll hear how to live a balanced life, and having a balanced life.
Is that possible? Can you live a balanced life?
I think that it's possible to a degree. That's just my own personal belief. I think that you have to have your minimum standards in each area, and you have to understand, you have to make a decision on which area is most important and what order you're going to put them in.
So if I was to ask you what...
But there's always going to be an imbalance.
Of course, yeah. Because you're always striving for perfection or for improvement.
Too focused over here, and then this one starts going down. Right. I want to make more money. Well, guess what? I haven't spent time with my family.
So which equity of life are you failing on the most right now?
Which equity of life am I failing on the most right now? Well, I think for me personally, it's, out of all the areas, the one that's kind of the lower end, and I'm always like, trying to bring it back up, and then it goes down, is the health.
The health.
Yeah.
And health. What does that look like? Because I'm going to commit you to run the Spartan with me right now, right?
It's interesting you bring that up.
There is
because I answered the question. So, what equity of life is the lowest for you?
Probably health right now too.
Probably health.
Yeah.
But you're always running Spartan races, and you're like, I see you on your bike like all the time on social media, sweating and in the gym at 6 a.m.
Here's the thing that I love about our conversations is that I fully understand, these equities of life, and I buy into them. I do believe. I don't know if I buy into the same level of spirituality that you buy into. I do believe in...
So you don't believe it's a pillar. You don't believe it's a column, or unpack that for me. What do you mean by that?
I guess I would say I don't know if I necessarily am as religious from that aspect about the spirituality of it.
What's the difference between spirituality and religiousness?
That's a great question. I mean, I would love to have the answer for that, because I'm more of like, the universe is blessing me. The universe is taking care of me. And as long as I'm in line with like...
isn't that the spirit of the universe?
I mean, spirit in what aspect? Like a Holy Spirit, or just like a general... I'm not following the question here.
The question is, okay.
Hold up. The question is, are you running the Spartan?
That's not the question.
We're going to get a yes or no from this man.
What was funny is because we had an agreement, and he keeps trying to back out. I asked him, okay, I'll run the Spartan with you if you come to church, and he keeps avoiding that one.
Men opening up to each other
Yes.
just a little bit. No, Tony, let me seriously answer your question and why I said health. And I think health for me, because I think that you're very aware that I just feel like my body over the last 10 years has been attracted to cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of threw me for a loop, this last cancer diagnosis that I got, because I wasn't mentally ready for it. I don't know if you're ever mentally ready for cancer, but the first time around, the first couple of times around, I knew how to deal with it. I was invincible. Nothing shook me, right? I knew I was going to beat it. This last diagnosis threw me for a loop, and I've never in my life experienced that. But here's why I wanted to have the conversation today, because I really believe men don't open up. They're not vulnerable enough. They don't talk about issues that are impacting their life, because the physical part of cancer is just one aspect of it. It's the mental, for me, that was the most difficult. I didn't understand how to deal with the anxiety, with the fear, with the uncertainty that all of a sudden shook me harder than I'd ever been shaken before in my life, right? And even to this day, you're still coping with it. But true to what you said about Latinos, never missed a day of work, never called in sick or late or anything. As a matter of fact, I up my work schedule, to kind of battle through it. And I'm not so sure that's the answer for mental health and anxiety. I think there's got to be a better solution.
Yeah. So on that topic, because you've recently shared about you're very open, and that's awesome, because most people, they hide it, but you've been very open. I mean, even moments like preparing for your 7th colonoscopy.
I've lost count. I'm just starting to like it now.
So, but you share that, you're open with your community about this. So my question is, how has facing these such profound personal health battles that you wrestle with reshaped your definition of leadership and leaving a legacy behind? Like, how has that reshaped your mindset in that fashion?
Tony, I got to say that I don't think that's reshaped it at all. I think my whole life I've been a nice guy. Somebody had mentioned the other day, they made a comment behind my back that how could I be a leader if I was a nice guy, right? And I don't believe that. I believe that leadership requires a sense of compassion and understanding and niceness, right? And for me, sharing my journey, sharing what I'm going through, isn't necessarily for me. It's because I've got this following of cancer patients around the globe that need motivation, inspiration. And so I post because I get messages that say, hey, your post helped me to go get tested, and they caught my cancer early. Hey, are you okay? You helped me fight my cancer battle. And so you hear these things, and I don't know if that's leadership or if it's just kindness or whatever it is, but I think I have a responsibility to do that, right? As far as legacy, I always tell my kids, I go, look, you can either be sick and unhappy or sick and happy, right? How do you want to live? I would prefer to be sick and happy, right? It's just the way I choose to live my life. That's it. Not that there aren't tough days. But have you ever seen me have a tough day?
No.
And I think we broke this down in our last podcast too. And this could be wrong from my perspective. And this is why this conversation is so important, because I don't think men know how to cope with it sometimes. I don't know if men know how to have bad days.
Especially when all we see is other people having good days and the highlight reels. And even I'm thinking about, even when I asked you the question, it's like, how is health the lowest thing? I see you running in Spartans, and I see you, how is that? But you're battling,
Every step hurts, Tony.
Yeah.
The joints have deteriorated. Every step hurts. That is just a personal choice of mine, right? And maybe it's how I cope with the pain and the uncertainty, but I don't know what the answer is, but I wish that I was better at being more vulnerable, if that makes sense. To me, this right here is probably the most vulnerable that I've been. Allowing the world to see that I don't have all the answers. I am scared. I am uncertain what the future holds. I don't want to die, right? And I don't think I am. But how do you have these mental health conversations with people? I don't have an answer. Maybe I need to join a men's group. Right?
Yeah, I keep telling
you. Right.
But even then, you're never going to have all the answers.
Right. But would you open up? Would you have these conversations where you would say, Tony, I'm scared of my kids growing up alone without a father because I still have a lot to teach them.
You see, I think that's why men gathering together and talking about these things is so important, because me too, right? Understanding there's a certain level of peace that comes upon you when you realize you're not crazy and these other guys wrestle with the same thing and we're all battling the same battle and we're not meant to fight it alone.
Right.
I think there's a great book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil. And it talks all about how when we are alone, we start to drift. And that's the enemy's number one tactic, is to get us into isolation, because he knows together we are much more powerful than we are alone. And there's a certain level of peace knowing if something, I'm really, really scared. I got so much to teach my kids, but if God forbid something happened to me, I've got these men next to me that I know are going to step in and they're going to be okay. And not only do I have these men, I have somebody above that I trust entirely, that I know he's going to take care of them. And then there's a certain level of peace that transcends all of the fear. But it's a constant battle, Alex. The good book says we need to take every thought captive. Every thought needs to become captive, and we need to take it to Christ and compare it to what he says about it and captivate it. Because what happens is, and I'm sure you would agree, not every thought that comes into my head is a good thought. Normally the first one is not the right one. Right. And it's true. And if we walk through life thinking that every thought that I think is true, we're naive.
Yeah, so that's a quote from a magazine, 15, 20 years ago. But I really believe that statement, that the greatest natural resource this country has is the untapped mind of a Latino child. And if we can develop it out, support it, I think that the economic impact for the United States, for the world, it's going to be immeasurable. You don't know, Tony, if the cure for cancer is sitting somewhere in the mind of a young Latino child. And instead of creating fear and uncertainty amongst this whole population, why don't we educate and support and feed and clothe and provide health services for? And it's not just Latino children, it's any child, right? But
yeah, so I'm gonna play the devil's advocate a little bit there, because I can already hear the opposing viewpoints in my head. Mm-hmm. Why would you single out the Latino child, and not just a blanket education? Because we've gone so far as a country, a lot of people say, right. Yeah, we used to be very politically racism was integrated into the education system, but we're in 2026. We're far beyond that. Every child is equal. Why single out Black Lives Matter? Why single out Latino childs? Why not all lives matter? Like, what is your response? Well,
I think if you go back and you don't cut out the last part of my statement there, I said every child, right? Yeah. Now, I tend to focus on Latino because I am Latino. And historically, we have been put under the microscope. We have been denied opportunities. We have been deported. We have been harassed. And there has been a certain level of racism towards Latinos in the United States. And it still exists. I think that if you look at the political spectrum right now, it's happening right now. And to me, that's wrong. You can have immigration enforcement. You can have immigration policies. However, I think you have to do it with compassion, common sense, and understanding, and I just don't see that happening right now. And so I will take a lot of heat for it, and I'm okay, because I honestly believe that Latino demographic is one of the most exciting demographics that the United States has ever seen, whether it's economically, politically, arts-wise. we are developing out and creating just this massive influence across the United States. Let me circle back just a little bit here, okay? It's not just Latinos. In that magazine, I also said, I don't believe you should deny anyone, the right to food, the right to health care, the right to housing, the right to education. And I understand that's going to create a lot of resentment and, towards me. But at the end of the day, I just circle back and I think, what have we thrown away because we haven't invested in education, in children, in support? And to me, that's wrong. If we have billions and hundreds of billions of dollars for wars across the world, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No. Why do you think that is? Why do you think as a society we don't invest more into education?
I mean, that's a question you're going to have to ask these politicians. That's why I'll never run for office, because I'll never get elected, because it's an unpopular view. I don't know. Ask them.
Have you ever thought about running?
Never. Well, yeah, I thought about running, but the reality is that I think I'm past the age where I would consider it. I think that my responsibility is to my family right now, and to my health. If I did run, I don't think I'd ever get elected.
So, but like, what do you say? Because, you have a lot of politicians, and you look at the news, and we're at war with Mexico, and like some people are scared. Not of the Latinos that are nice and live here. They're scared of the ones that the presidents or politicians are talking about coming across the border.
Hold up here. Yeah. What is a litmus test for not sending their best? What does that even mean? What does that mean? Have some people come across that have committed crimes in other countries? Yeah. Hold them accountable. Send them back. Put them in jail. No one is saying that. I have not heard one Latino advocate say, yeah, if you killed someone, raped someone, let them live free. I have not heard one person say that. But what I have heard is you've got people here that are hard workers, that are bringing their best, and they are the best of the best. And they're working hard, and they're creating, and they're building the United States through labor and education and everything. What is that litmus test? Yeah. So, I mean, don't get me going on this, because I am a big believer in the power of the Latino community. And I'm a big believer in the power of immigrants and their contributions to the United States of America. We have taken far more from immigrants than we have given to them. They say they don't pay taxes. Bullshit. Yeah, they do. They have ITINs. They pay into Social Security. They don't get a benefit for it, but they pay into it. Yeah. So you're going to get me canceled on every single party. But I think enough is enough, Tony. Yeah. And I think that we're in a day and an age where voices need to be heard. And I don't think we can live in fear anymore. Going through a near-death experience, right, which cancer is, I think you get to a point, and this is a question I was going to ask you, we get to a point where you can't be fearful of everything anymore. And I think I'm to that point in my life. And so I wanted to ask you, when I was going through my anxiety attack, where I really, really thought I was going to die, and I had my daughter call the ambulance, and I thought it was over for me, right? But the one thought that kept going through my head was, am I leaving this world the person that I want my children to remember me as? If they Googled me, if they went through my social media, if they, anything, am I the person that they would be, respect? And so the question is, are you that person right now? Have you gotten yourself to that point? If not, what is it going to take?
I want to answer your question, but I don't want to skip over the fear. A good friend of mine, brother of mine, Gene Staples, he runs this, he runs a ministry called Divided, where he talks all about the division between cultures. And we were talking a little bit earlier about how it's passed from generation to generation. The mom who still cuts the ends off of the ham because great grandma used to cut it off because it didn't fit in the pan. It's this generational thing, and that's why community is so important. Understanding and getting to know other backgrounds and other cultures so that way you can have a better understanding and not just accept the ideologies that were passed down from generation to generation. Now, to answer your question regarding, if I passed away tomorrow, am I the man that I would want my kids to look at and say that they respect it, or in essence, be the man that I would want to be remembered as? The short and raw answer is no, absolutely not. I am not the man that I want to be, because I understand that the only man that I want my children to look up to and to follow is not me. There's only ever been one in all of history.
Wait, I'm going to guess who that is.
Go ahead and take a wild guess.
I feel like you're going to say Christ.
The only person that ever walked the earth and didn't sin. And if you just read and study his life, it's just, that's the example of what being a humble, righteous man looks like. I make a lot of mistakes, a whole lot. So I hope that when I pass, I can point, like, I don't have it all figured out, but I can point you to the one that does, and that's the guy you got to follow.
So here, look, I'm gonna accept what you said, but I'm gonna push back here just
Go
a
ahead,
little
push back.
Because, and I know you're gonna flip this on me a little bit, but Christ isn't going to work every day to provide for your kids. Christ doesn't have a social media account.
No.
Christ doesn't have a text messages coming in.
No.
That's Tony.
Yeah.
And you're their father.
Right.
You're your wife's husband.
So my goal, and it's about the character, right?
Right.
Living a life of humility, joy, exuding peace, overflowing with the fruits of the Spirit, peace, love, joy. It's about refining my character constantly so that I may look more like that.
So let me put it this way. If you were to strip away the social media, the job, you were to strip away everything, do you feel that your family thinks and views you the same way that you view yourself?
Oh, it depends on who you ask, and absolutely not. It's hilarious when I'll ask my daughter a question and she'll give me an answer, and I'm like, "What? Like, where do you get that from?" Because they all have their own viewpoints. You never take us out. We went out 4 times this week. Like, what are you talking about? You never spend time with me. I took you out on 2 dates this week. It's like
it's never enough.
It's never enough. So I'm probably I'm certain that they don't view me the way I think that they often do. But I do believe that they understand that I love them.
I think so.
That
too.
I care about them, and that I provide for them, right? And that I'm striving to be the man that I believe God has called me to be, and be obedient in that to the best of my ability. But I fall short, and it's a wrestling match, because I believe that we should not hide that from other people. Vulnerability is important. I shouldn't portray this image of Superman and that I live a life like I'm Jesus, because I'm not. And I make a lot of mistakes, and I'm extremely flawed, and I'm full of sin, and there's nothing good that comes from me. It overflows from the Spirit that's within me. Nothing good comes from the flesh of Tony.
This is the most religious talk I've had in a long time.
Spiritual, it's not religious. What is the difference between religious and a relationship? And I think that this is where a lot of people, there's a big, and if there's somebody that's listening, and this is a big piece with Mental Battle, because I was church hurt. Like, growing up, I saw religion, and I hated it, because what religion does, and this is what the Pharisees did. This is what the Pharisees did in the story of the Gospels. They put truth first. They put, you have to do this, you have to do that, you can't wear these clothes, you can't do work on these days, you can't eat these things, you have to. And what happens every single time when you put the laws and what has to be done before you understand that there's a relationship here, there's always going to be rebellion.
So wait, you flip the model. You put your relationship
I didn't flip it. I just learned that it is flipped.
But the way you live your life is the relationship with
first and
your
foremost.
God first, with Christ,
and relationship with others,
and and then the truth, Okay,
the truth comes up. It's one of my mentors told it to me this way. It's like a shepherd. He has his staff, and on one side he has a little hook to bring him in, and on the other side he's got it to whack him, right? It's a constant discernment of grace and truth. If I only give you grace and I never give you truth, there's no clashing of the swords. You're not being refined. And grace is giving you a gift that you don't deserve. If I'm just giving you grace and no truth, you're never going to grow. If I'm only giving you truth and no grace, you're just going to rebel. So
Tony, let me ask you real quick here. Is joy an important part of raising kids in relationships?
Yeah, joy is a focus before it is a feeling.
Hold up right there. That you've said enough. How much joy do you think it would bring your family if you ran the Spartan with your wife and me?
I don't think my kids would care too much.
I think they would appreciate
my wife
it.
would. She would enjoy that. And the truth is, it's inevitable. I give you a hard time for that because I'm going to do it anyway.
We're going to get you out there.
Do it anyway. It's fun.
I just want to circle back really quick. We're talking about like if our children would respect us and love us and everything, knowing everything they know, like all of our imperfections. And, I think back to my father, who I love dearly. He's passed away, I think it's been 5 years now, 6 years. And the wonderful thing about memories and wonderful thing about parenthood, I believe, is that your children love you even with your imperfections.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone expects you to be perfect. And the older they get, the more they understand. I was really hurt when my parents separated, right? And I held a lot of resentment for so many years against my mother. And then as I got older, I started realizing that life isn't perfect, that we never understand what people are going through, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and that it's hard to place judgment on anything, right? And so where I was not estranged, but I just really didn't talk to her for 5 or 6 years, when I was young, that relationship mended because I think you've said that you've talked in the past about how important wisdom is and experience. I think your kids understand imperfections always. And there's things that I don't want my kids to know too. And maybe when they're older, I'll tell them.
Well, there's a time and a season for everything.
Right.
But
they'll find out eventually. I'm sure.
That unconditional love that a child has for a parent, it's stronger from a parent to a child. Like I can do some things where my kids might say, I'll never talk to him again. I could, right? I don't think there's anything my child can do that I would say I'd never talk to my child, because that's what unconditional love, that's the picture of what it looks like. And I think on the topic of mental health, it breaks my heart so often because I know what it's like to see and feel the negative consequences of religion. Like, I don't follow Christianity, I follow Christ. There's a big difference people need to understand. There's been so many horrible things that have been done in the name of Christianity. The Crusades, the murders, all in the name, slavery, all in the name of Christ. All this condemnation, and that's not at all, that's man. That's what man did. That's not what Christ did. And I think that it's really important because when we're talking about mental health, I personally believe that the greatest breakthrough in mental health is a relationship with your higher power. And I've come to the point where I understand it's not me to push this upon other. Everybody has their own walk. So the way I've learned a lot of people digest it better, it's a higher power of your understanding.
And I think that I can appreciate, because I don't think it's not that I don't believe in Christ. It is, I don't believe in the hypocrisy that is religion.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the hypocrisy with which people use spirituality
Yeah.
to inflict harm or judgment or hurt on other individuals.
Yeah.
And it bothers me that people promote that so much, and we go to war in the name of religion or God or whatever it is. And if you were to look at Christ, you know, and I'm not a studious individual, but I don't think he ever called for war. Right.
They thought he was going to come and save them from the Romans, but this man died on the cross. He didn't go to war. He even it's funny because I used to say the same thing. I wrestle with the hypocrisy. You're all hypocrites. And then I read in the book, he called them hypocrites. He says, you hypocrites, you'll come to me and I'll say, I never knew you. Get away from me. Because that's not at all what he calls for. And there's a perversion that I believe there's a force that tries to pervert every good thing. I think that force is called man, right? Well, there's three big enemies that I've learned. One is our flesh, it's man. 2 is the world, all the other men. And then 3 is the devil. There's a voice in my head that pops out that's not mine, that sometimes tells me to do things that I know I shouldn't be doing. And I believe that it is supernatural perversion. And you can also see that it just comes up naturally. A lot of the things that we complain about children, they talk too much, they don't sit still, they're too rowdy. They're actually these gifts that if we don't refine them and if we don't learn I think this is why self-mastery and wisdom and a mental health and understanding yourself is so important, because if we understand ourselves, we have these gifts that were given to us that other people have said, oh, you're one of the ones I hear a lot is you're manipulative. Manipulation. You manipulate people. That's actually a gift to help lead people to wisdom and to growth. Like, you can help people with manipulation because you're making it about yourself. But on the opposite side of manipulation, when you make it for somebody else, you're actually missing the word, not convincing, influence. You're an influencer.
Yeah. You know, it's I think that our next podcast, if we do one, should be about raising children. I don't think men talk enough about raising children, and we probably should. Maybe you do in your men's group. I don't know, but
I mean, it's a big one.
I think there's so many topics that we hide from each other because we're scared to open up. We're scared to talk, and I think that we're living in a day and age where that needs to stop.
Yeah,
we need to be a little bit more vulnerable. We need to talk about issues that are impacting us every day. We need to be able to, for lack of a better word, cry on each other's shoulders and be okay with it, right? Without the fear of persecution or bullying or teasing, you know. We just have to be more open with each other. I know I don't have that. I know you probably do with your men's group, but this has been nice because I don't think I open up to anybody. So
I agree wholeheartedly. One of the most beautiful things about the group is that we talk about those hard conversations that we don't talk about. Marriage, like, people don't talk about things that happen behind the closed doors. Parenting, your own mental health. Where are you at with pornography? Where are you at with your physical health, your mental health?
Wait,
your
are we taking a vote on pornography? Is that what you guys do? Yay or nay?
No, it's not yay or nay. It's on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's not just pornography. It's lust. Right, it's lust. It's not just porn. It's what's going on up here.
So you guys have these conversations
on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you don't ever think about it. 10 being up. I looked at porn yesterday, actually before I walked in here. 1 to 10, and we'll talk about those things.
Interesting.
And then we'll go to the good book and we'll dissect it and we'll dig deep through these things.
See, you almost have me. I don't know if I can go to a men's group that's religious like that, like so focused. I would love to get to that point.
I think first we need to reframe the vocabulary that you're using. It's not religion.
we got to get you on this side a little.
It's just wisdom. It's a relationship. There's no doubt that most people believe that there is a higher power.
But
Most people.
But why
there has to be one, because if you look at a human being, like, you can't just go to a building and say, "Oh yeah, that beautiful Empire State Building, yeah, that was just that just built itself." And we are so much more complex when you look at our DNA and how our mind is wired and how we are created, that you can't just say nothing created us. I mean, people do say that, but there's a difference between who you say the creator is and that there is a creator.
But why can't it be Buddhism that created us, Islam that created us?
Why can't it?
Hinduism that created us, the universe that created us?
Yeah.
And instead of the good book, why can't it just be characteristics and morals and values and that exist in the universe, right?
Right.
I don't know. We have a lot to unpack.
Yeah. I agree. Why can't it? I'm just going to finish up with this. Why can't it? I agree. Yeah. That is a truth. That is something that every single person needs to discover for themselves. It's not me to impress. I've learned that if you impress upon your own personal conviction onto somebody else, they'll always rebel. That's why we don't do it to our children. I share my beliefs. You share your beliefs. We talk about it. And then we go on our own separate ways. I don't have to convince anybody to believe what I believe. If what I believe is true, he will convict you. This is your choice. The creator of my understanding is a gentleman. It's like a woman. If you went to a woman and you just kept harassing her and she didn't want anything to do with you, do you really care about this woman, like truly love her, if she's telling you to get away, get away, get away? In the same fashion, we all have a choice to decide, do I want a relationship or not? And that's up to each individual, and it's not me to decide. I did want to ask you, because you've been through a lot, and this is what fascinates me. Like, you're going through this journey, you have these cancer scares, you've been UNLV, you've been to Dubai, you've been all around the world, VP of Century 21, national director of NAREP. So you've seen all these things. And looking back over your whole career, because we're talking about legacy, we're talking about this, what do you want to leave behind? Looking back at everything that you've been through, if you could impart one piece of wisdom to the young Latino, your son who's looking back at this, 20 years, 30 years from now, your grandchildren that you don't even have yet, your great-great-grandchildren, what piece of wisdom, after all these experiences that you've learned, would you want to leave them with?
Believe in humanity. Believe that humanity always gets it right. Treat people with love, respect, kindness, and just be true to yourself and your passion, and everything will work out. Everything will work out. Not perfectly always, but everything will work out.
That's good.
That's it.
That's good. Any final thoughts?
No, just Tony, thank you for this. I think that as we do these things and we maybe even invite another couple of men here to give different perspectives and opinions, I think it's important for us to debate, to open up, to have difficult conversations that can be sometimes a little confrontational.
Yeah.
But I think that we learn a lot from that, and I think that it's just going to benefit men.
I agree. It's very important that we can have, we have different points of views, and having a healthy debate, that's how we learn. That's how we grow. Sometimes we don't even really think about an argument until we've heard it from another side. And it's like, okay, now I gotta sit with that. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there's something else I'm missing here.
And we've always been in sync. Like, I think your friendship is one of the ones that I value more than anything else. I've known you for a long time. Your wife, I've known her for a long time. You guys are just an amazing, beautiful couple. And your kids, oh my gosh, my kids love your kids, even though they've never met them. They see the pictures and they're just like images of perfection, they're just beautiful, beautiful
Thank
family.
You.
So
I appreciate that.